Good morning, my subscribers. How are you doing? I hope all is well with everyone. I myself am doing well out here on the Midwest. Thank God it's Thursday, one more day Friday, and I am off for the weekend. So, guys, I just want to come in quickly and talk about the executive order that Trump has signed for federal workers to return to work. Trump wants federal workers to return to work or to the office by February 6th of this year, or they will lose their jobs. They may voluntarily quit as well and get a buyout offer if approved. I'll talk a little bit more about the buyout offer toward the end of this video. Trump also says requiring federal employees to come to the office 5 days a week will result in a wave of voluntary terminations that we welcome. So, these workers actually have been out of work since COVID, and COVID was in 2020. So, it's basically, we can say, what, 5 years? Going on 5 years they've been out of work. That's a long time. That is a long time. I understand for safety and precautions and to protect themselves and their family. They was gonna go on and work at home like other people have work from at home, but it's been over the time to go back to work. It's over the time to go back to work. I go into the office every day, 5 days a week. 5 days a week. So it's time for them to definitely go back. And as far as I'm concerned, it's been time for them to go back, actually. So basically, in 2023, 43% of civilian federal workers engaged in telework. I actually think it's a little bit more than that. That's 2023. We think about the year 2024, all the teleworkers. I do know my daughter, she was working from home for a while as well, but it wasn't with the federal government. But there's a lot of people who are working who do go out every day and go to work. And I feel that if other people can get up and go out and go to work, they can go to work. There's a lot of buildings in the U.S. They're just like basically completely empty. They're completely empty because people have gotten comfortable with staying home. They've gotten comfortable with not going back to work and just basically turning over and jumping on the computer from home and just working in their pajamas or whatever. I personally think you're more valuable when you go into the office, presiding just staying home. And I'm so glad that Trump did sign this executive order for people to go back to work. Hopefully, people will go back to work. If not, hey, we will see how that play out. But there will be no more remote worker arrangements and to return to work in person at their respective duty stations on a full-time basis, provided that the department and agency heads shall make exemptions they deem necessary. So basically what that means is it has to be a real valuable reason of why you can't return in to the office, but it must be approved by the department head or the person who's in charge of that particular department. So I was doing some research and I had found out around the number of Americans workers, or actually number of people who are federal employees, and I came up with 2.3 million. 2.3 million federal workers. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot of workers. But a memo did go out on Tuesday outlining that 8 months that there can be they will outline an 8 month buyout offer if individuals did not want to return to work and voluntarily quit. So that means like they will offer them a lump sum payments up to maybe I'm thinking around 25,000 as an incentive to voluntarily separate from their jobs. So federal employees will also have to prove if they had a second job, that didn't conflict with their government responsibilities. So it's not to say that you can have a second job, but they just want to make sure it's not interfering with what your federal government job have you doing. So yeah, guys. So a lot of people are screaming they don't want to go back to work. A lot of people saying this is going to inconvenience them and they don't know what they're going to do. And this did work out for a lot of women because a lot of women did not have to pay for childcare. They can just basically be home, and that helped them to save a lot of money. But now they got to go back to work, and it's talking about child care, federal workers. I mean, child care is so expensive. It's like you're going to work just to pay for child care, just to really, really just it's insanely ridiculous. You make all that money as a federal worker, and you got to put out thousands and thousands of dollars if you have young children. I think children stop going to the daycare around 12 years old. I know with my daughter, I stopped her from going to the daycare when she was around 11, 10 or 11, because I say the cost of living, not the cost of living, the cost of just send a child to daycare is like, it's ridiculous. I mean, you basically going to work just to pay child care. So yeah, those federal workers, they have up until February 6th of 2025. Memos have been sent out to all these federal heads to notify their employees that they have to go back to work. And like I said, a lot of people they gonna get comfortable with being home for basically going on 5 years. 5 years is a lot if you think about it. COVID 2020, I think it was 2020 of March or April it started, and then you might as well say this is February getting ready to come up. You might as well round it off to 5 years that people have been home working remotely. Working remotely. I know for myself personally, I have to be able to go into the office. I cannot, I'm not a type of person that can just stay home and work from home. I just can't do it. I mean, if it's a situation where it may be an emergency, or I might have a day where, okay, I'm gonna stay home maybe one day or something like that, then maybe. But for the most part, I like to go into the office. So, all of you federal workers out there, it's time to get yourselves together and go back to work. If you don't want to go back to work, you can take a payout. It's 20. I believe the starting around $25,000, depending. The outlining of an 8 month buyout is like $25,000. So $25,000 nowadays is literally, to me. I would want to go back to work because we already know federal workers, they make a pretty good penny. So to get $25,000, depending on what your income is yearly, it's, to me, it's little pennies. It's $25,000 is little pennies. If you say you're making, say, I'm just gonna give you a rough figure. Just say you're making 75,000 a year, or 80,000 a year. To take a buyout for 25,000, that just wouldn't be beneficial. So I really personally think people need to just get with the program and go back to work. I know it's going to be hard because you have gotten used to being at home for 5 years, but it's time to go back. I mean, like Trump say, they spent a lot. There's a lot of money put out for federal workers in the United States. 2.3 million. It's a lot of money put out, and for those who want to take that buyout, then that's gonna just save them. That's gonna save them having to put out so much money. So if a person want to take a buyout, then they can go on and take that buyout. But then if you think about it, uh, they're gonna eventually, depending on if they're some people may be at retirement age or close to retirement age and say, okay, it's beneficial for me to just take the buyout. Say you got a year before you retire, right? So if you take that $25,000 buyout, you could take that and then go on and head into retirement. So it just really depends on the individual. It really just depends on the individual and what they would want to do. I know if it was me, and if I was, say, for instance, I was like maybe 6 months before retirement or maybe a year before retirement, I will go on and take the buyout. I would take the $25,000 buyout, and I probably would just go on and take my Social Security or whatever. Or say, it just really depends on each and everybody's situation. It really just depends. Is it worth you taking the 25,000 or whatever that figure may be? Is it worth it? So you got to really look at your situation and see if it's beneficial or if you choose to go back. A lot of people been working for the federal government for a long time. So somebody who's working for the federal government that's maybe like 63 years old, 64 years old, that buyout of $25,000 or whatever the figure may be, that may be beneficial for them. Someone who, say, 40 years old and you trying to take that buyout, I don't think that will probably be beneficial for a younger person who's in their 20s. So it's really up to the individual. They got to sit back and decide, hey, does this work for me? Or if it doesn't work for me, a lot of people who work for the federal government, they have to commute, commute far, far, far. I'm here in Illinois, and to drive in certain areas to get to federal buildings, it could be costly. And then in the morning, traffic can be gridlock. So a lot of things people got to take into consideration. They may not want to get into driving again. Maybe it's not beneficial for them to do the driving and put out all that gas money. People, and they don't have that long to decide if they're going to return to the office. So today is what, February 30th. So you basically have what, a week, give or take, to decide what you're gonna do. And a lot of people are in an uproar about it. A lot of people are in an uproar. A lot of people, when they went into that remote learning, a lot of people, they moved out of the state and they moved to different areas. So say if you're in Illinois, or say for instance if you're in Illinois, and say you move from New York to Illinois. Okay, now you got to think about that. How are you gonna return back to work? That means you're gonna have to pick up and move back to New York to go to work, or vice versa, depending on the state you're in. Some people, like I say, it's economically, it was beneficial for them to move because the cost of living was cheaper. I know one lady, not personally, but I know one lady I was listening to. She moved to, I believe, Mexico with her husband and family. It was all over the internet that she had moved down there. Her husband, actually, he was the one who works for the federal government. So they moved to Mexico. I'm not sure what state they left from, but she was on the internet crying, saying, "Oh, we moved all the way down to Mexico, and now we gotta try to figure out how we gonna do." Well, you know what? You guys should have had this pre-planned. You gotta always plan for a rainy day. You can't get so comfortable with you're gonna be working uh remote forever. Eventually, you guys will eventually have to think what's gonna happen if we have to go back to work. Okay, I can understand with the cost of living being so high in New York, it's very expensive. Economically, it's better for you to move to Mexico. So they moved down there. They bought a house and everything because it's much cheaper. We know the money from the United States is worth a lot more down in Mexico. So that's what they did. They moved down there. They bought a house. They set their kids up in school and everything, and they were federally still somehow. I don't know how it was possible for them to do it, but I guess it's possible because it's on the internet. So it's now that he has to return back to work. She's really having a hard time with that because she's figuring, oh, we got to sell our house and move back. I don't think. I mean, she can still stay there. I mean, he can. He may have to come back here, come to the states, and I don't know, commute back and forth. Where there's a will, there's a way. They're gonna have to figure out what is in the best interest for them and what works best for their family. I just thank God I am not personally in that situation. Um, I wish everybody the best, and I hope everybody decide to go on and either go back to work or go on and just take that buyout. But Trump is not playing. He's like, listen, we putting out a lot of money for these federal workers, and all they doing is sitting home every day. I feel, as I mentioned a little while ago, I think you're more profitable when you go to work in the office. I think you better, you're gonna do what you're supposed to do for the most part when you go to work and go into the office. The working from home is just, for me, it's never been something will have want to do. But like I say, since COVID, a lot of people were working from home, and that was okay then. That was okay then, but that is not okay now. COVID is long gone. Even though some people here and there are still getting COVID, COVID now is like a basic cold. It's like a basic cold. It's not. They don't look at COVID as what it used to be. So it's clearly no excuse for people to be just being home every day and not going into the office. It's time to get up and go back into the office. And I completely agree with everything that Trump has said. So, those of you who have federal jobs, and do you think it's wrong that you have to go back to work, or do you think you should continue to stay home? Well, if you continue to stay home, you're going to lose your job. That's just the bottom line. Trump has already said if you don't return to work, you're going to lose your job. So I don't know. I just think people have just gotten so comfortable and that they just really and honestly don't want to get up and go out and get dressed every day and go back to work. But like I say, everybody's situation is different, and they have to sit back and analyze and think and figure out what's best for themselves and their family. um I just know it can be hard. And like a week is not a lot of time to think about what you have to do. But hey guys, you gotta prepare. You gotta always think, well, what if this change? You can't get so comfortable and figure, hey, this is never gonna change. This is never gonna change. It's gonna always be this way. Trump had been hitting around talking about it before he got elected president. He had been talking about it then. So you guys just got to always prepare and have a backup plan. You got to have a B plan, because we never know what's going to happen. So, again, guys, what do you all think about federal workers returning to work? Do you think it's unfair? Do you think Trump is just not treating people right? Do you think it's a good thing because he's going to be saving money it's going to be helping to save money for the U.S.? Drop me a comment below and let me know what is it you feel about federal workers returning to work. Um, and then if you drop a comment below, I will do my best to comment on the video at my earliest convenience. And respond into the best possible way I can, depending what your question is. But guys, in the meantime, I'm gonna cut this video short, and I will come back in at another time with another important video of what's going on in the U.S. This is the Conservative Lady, and you all have a great day and be blessed. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.